around the galaxy. I am the nerd that knows. And with me tonight, I have apparently a family reunion. We have my fabulous, incredible brother, Tank, owner of Nox Nostalgia Collectibles. Hit him up for all of your comic book and or video game and or little collectible doodad things. Find him on Facebook, Nox Nostalgia Collectibles. And joining us as a special guest for tonight, my other unofficial brother, we have Vance, the Useful Mammal, jackass, photographer extraordinaire, and all around pain in my ass. But you know what? Isn't that what family's for? Oh, and apparently the dog wants to play fetch now. So that's awesome. All right. So we are live on a Wednesday again because apparently people's schedules keep getting all fucked up. And so we were not with you on our regular Monday nights. Stache is chilling with the Baroness this evening. And Smurf is off somewhere judging some sort of food something or other. And Fox is away being incredibly sexy with their partners doing God only knows what. But if you really want to find out, petfet.com. And if that was not enough shameless plugs for the intro, let's go ahead and jump right in to the things that we did not talk about last week and even more news that has happened since then. So, starting off with Suicide Squad. We saw it. What do we think?
I enjoyed it more than the first one that they made.
It is rare that there is a better sequel than the original, but okay.
Yeah, I like it more than the John Ayer version of the
Green Lantern is better than the first one. I said it. No, okay. It was a beautifully intended disaster, is how I've kind of viewed the movie. It was a intentional, beautiful Tarantino nod hot mess that I think only James Gunn could have done. I think it was awesome. I love it. I'm on my third viewing.
James Gunn. This further establishes that he is legitimately a little bit of a lunatic.
I think it is a little more than a little.
The action sequences were brutal and quite awesome. The storyline was iffy at best, but honestly, even the source material is iffy at best when it comes to the storyline. So, he did what he could.
Okay, so I didn't hate it. I liked Harley a lot better this time around than in The Birds of Prey. I definitely see why this is her last delve into the Harley character. It was a little weird that, and very comic booky, which it didn't have in the first one. The way they had all of like the the screenshots of Suicide Squad versus.
No, James Gunn was slick with a lot of his visual story points.
Yeah, it felt more like a comic book movie than the train wreck that the first one was.
And that seemed, and I think once again, that was what he wanted. It seems like he was really trying to push the comic book style of the movie because a lot of the action sequences were set up in comic book. Like even the stuff that comes out of it, how they kill Starro, the powers of Polka Dot Man, which was impressive to be honest. Like you really push the comic idea more than most comic book movies do.
Which is where I also give the Tarantino nod to, because I've always felt that Tarantino has a little bit of a comic book, hence Pulp Fiction, as a name of a movie. You know, he has that chapter 6. You know, that Operation, Operation Harley. You know, it's that sort of it was a very comic book design. I think the one moment where it was almost a meta of that to me was the Idris Elba falling out and almost doing a superhero landing, but looking like, holy crap, I just survived that. That was just such a perfect scene.
It was a very much Deadpool moment of a superhero landing, bat on the knees.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And Idris, compared to Deadshot.
Mm-hmm.
He was way more interesting than Will Smith's character. Way more interesting. And they kind of give you the hint of, oh, well, this story's kind of the same thing, when it's not at all. Because he goes at his kid like he wanted to kill her at one point.
I love that he's all like, yeah, you're a dumbass because you got caught and you did this without, but you did it for a fucking watch? For fuck's sake. I'm just like, yeah, that's
just
awesome.
Probably more realistic. Like, if your kid does some stupid shit like that, that's probably going to be your actual response.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. That will be your response with your children. That was 100%. My parents' response with me. My mom used to say, we could get away with anything that she had not already tried. So, but if she had done it and done it successfully, we were not allowed to try doing the same thing.
Well, then my kids aren't going to be allowed to do really much of anything. Right?
Yeah, neither were we. Mom has some wicked stories. Like, there is this giant Tyrannosaurus Rex at this place called Kittyland in the town my mom grew up in. And the Kittyland train, rides right in front of this giant T-Rex. So for senior prank, or just because, with my mother, it could have been a just because, they took a mannequin, covered it in red paint, put red paint all over these dinosaurs' teeth, and had a bloody, mangled body hanging out of the mouth of this dinosaur at Kittyland. Right? But you can see it from the main stretch of the highway, Main Street or whatever. Now there is a secured fence around this thing, and the teeth are just painted boards. They're not actual teeth anymore. And that is all due to my mom.
There you go.
So yeah, we did not really have, we had to get real creative to try something mom hadn't already done. But I digress.
And how it started was interesting. The fact that they kind of split it, that unknown to us, split it into two groups and unknown to everyone apparently involved, two groups of the Suicide Squad. And one of them got wiped out.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, were they trying to get rid of Harley? Because she was in that group.
Oh, absolutely. You can see the disappointment on Waller's face.
Yeah.
But I appreciated Flag, who was all like, hey, and you have to think, she was trying to get rid of him too.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to be honest, Joel Kinnaman was the worst part of that movie. He is so boring. As I understand, Rick Flag is kind of supposed to be the uptight military dude, but that guy is so damn boring.
They would have been better off going with the Eastwood kid's character as the survivor there, not him.
Yeah, they would have gone better with mostly anybody.
Yeah.
Besides him, that was he. I don't know if it's just him as an actor or him as this character. He's not good as Rick Flag. It actively great. I wished from the beginning of the end fight, I wish he would have just got shot right in the face, and that would have been the end of it. Like, in no fight, no nothing, just kill him at the beginning of the movie, and let's move on. Harley's by herself.
Mm. See, I'm actually kind of glad they didn't focus the movie on Harley. You know, they didn't. They had every opportunity to do it, but she just had her own vehicle 2 years ago. You know, you don't need to make another Harley Quinn vehicle. Her popularity has, you know, I'm not going to say peaked, but it's solid enough in regular daily culture now. I'm not even going to talk about, you know, how many people in the lifestyle call themselves Harley. Anyway, that character is so well established, you don't need to continue to promote her. Give her a new costume. It's just like any other franchise. You give them a new costume, get people to buy new stuff, that blah 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 blah. You can focus on new characters.
Right.
You know, Sylvester Stallone, epic casting.
As King Shark. That
as
was
King Shark.
Hilarious.
I mean, King Shark was fantastic, but I really think that some of the Harley moments were my favorite parts of the film.
No. Yeah,
you know, like the
when
way that she like with the chain, and I'm just like, that's so fucking cool.
And that's her. That is her doing that. That was not a stand-in.
No, I know.
Which is just brilliant that she learned to do that. I'm just glad the movie did not make it another Harley Quinn vehicle. You know, and I think the surprise for me was, and this is, you know, kind of one of those other little commentaries about the first movie, is they kind of set it up, because I thought, honestly, Will Smith dialed that movie in. They wanted to bring him into a comic franchise because it's something he, you know, his Wild Wild West franchise failed, and you know, something to maybe ignite Will Smith in a comic book movie role, because everybody else was being sucked into it, and it felt like he dialed it in. I really felt like he dialed that entire role in for that movie, and they kind of set Idris Elba up to be, fine, I'll do it, I'm dialing this in, and then the character comes out.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
You know, that's kind of how I thought it was, just like a little sort of, you know, hey, Will Smith, screw you. I'm going to directly comment about your acting in the first movie in my script. So.
Yeah, and each character, like each of the main Suicide Squad, not the ones that were wiped out 10 minutes in, but the main Suicide Squad, each one of them had a distinct story told by the end of that movie, which is a little bit impressive, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that each one of them did have a story that was really cool. It was well done. It was a little crazy.
I want more the detachable kid, because it's Nathan Fillion. Just because it's Nathan Fillion.
And it was hilariously stupid how they did that.
A little arms just like.
Or when like his body is over on the beach,
and he's like flexing and trying to force his arms to apparently Three Stooges, the soldiers.
Well,
you know, it fits for, you know, the character and the actor.
The whole point of the Suicide Squad is it was B through D level villains who are so bad at being villains they get caught, and therein set themselves up for this sort of suicide mission. I mean, that's really the whole point of the entire Suicide Squad series.
Oh yeah.
So he's a total apropos character there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, all in all, I think that it was not a bad movie. It was not a great movie.
It wasn't great,
but it was definitely, you know, worth a watch.
I think it fits the direction that DC has realized that, for the most part, is where they're going to make their money. Comedy. Use the DC universe, it's still comedy. Shazam, it's still comedy. the Harley, the Emancipation of Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey. You instill some. You use.
Yeah,
the
but that
characters-
movie sucked ass.
What?
Birds of Prey?
It still made money. It still made like $385 million. I mean, that's pretty damn good for a DC movie, all things being equal. I think that's going to be they're going to throw in a serious movie every now and then. The Batman is going to be, ultra serious. It's going to be an attempt to regain the Nolan mystique. But after what they tried to do with Man of Steel, after what they tried to do with, Justice League was that attempt to instill some humor into an action movie. So I think they found their groove of where they fit comparative to the Marvel universe, which is let's just build up the one gigantic, let's throw everything at it, battle at the end, and occasionally maybe Tony Stark is funny. But now he's dead. So there you go.
But that'll take us over to What If in the Marvel universe.
See what I did there.
Yes.
You didn't even know.
Episode 1 was a really cool reinvention of that story.
Oh, yeah.
Of the Captain America story. Because they basically went shot for shot for most of it. It was almost the exact same story. And that was it looks like that was very intended, that they wanted you to have the same exact experience, but what if this one little thing changed?
Yeah.
And that one little thing has huge impacts on the story.
And even the way they start the voiceover, where he's all like, you all know this story, you know how it went, but what if when this question gets asked, it gets a different answer?
Oh, yeah.
And that's the only thing. And I thought that was
something completely believable that could have happened in that situation.
Yeah,
you don't need to go.
The number of people we're going to see cosplaying these what if characters is going to be ridiculous.
Well, and the stuff that legitimately comes out of it, because everyone's focusing on obviously the main part of it, and that is that Carter becomes Captain Britain instead of Rogers becoming Captain America. That is the biggest
She just becomes Captain Carter. She doesn't become Captain Britain.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. They're setting up Captain Britain, I'm assuming, because she's in a couple more episodes, apparently.
Yeah.
So if anyone didn't know that, sorry, big surprise. They're probably setting up Captain Britain, which is a separate group of superheroes. But all the small things are also very important. Like even the Red Skull's decisions to, instead of making weapons, to investigate the paranormal aspects of the Tesseract. That shift had a major impact on the outcome of the story.
The fact that you have Howard Stark making that suit.
Yeah, making a proto-Iron Man suit. 60 years, almost 70 years before it should have happened.
Right.
Like that's crazy, and the fact that Bucky never disappears. So now his entire history changes, and it's all those little small things that I'm guessing we're probably going to get more of at some point. With the way they're altering the stories, there's probably going to be some stuff coming out of that also. But
absolutely.
It was really
cool. Well, you no longer have a Winter Soldier. You no longer have, there's so much that changes with that one modification.
Well, this is considered canon.
Yeah.
What If is a free part of the MCU canon.
Yeah. It's just alternate universe.
Yeah, part of the multiverse plot. Yeah.
Timeline.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe it was just me. I thought that Red Skull's move into the paranormal was a little nod to Marvel buying Dark Horse and therein now owning Hellboy, with kind of a jihad thing coming through.
Well, potentially a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably rooted a little bit in, some of the religious portions of the Nazi movement also took on sort of a paranormal feel and sort of a, god weapon feel to them.
Yeah.
And if you think about what the Hydra image is, like their insignia, like the creature that they have, in that moment makes sense.
Right. But yeah, I see the nod to the old Thule, the Thule cult, elder gods.
Yeah.
All that paranormal research that they were legitimately doing, which was just anyway.
Yeah, scary in its own right, yes. And it gives a direct. We're not explicitly shown what the creature is.
Right.
And that's completely intentional, I'm assuming. But it does kind of link to what's happening with Doctor Strange next.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the stuff that he deals with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a cool way to potentially loop part of another multiverse in that storyline of, oh, wait, why is this creature, this extra-dimensional creature coming through?
Right.
And the way that they had Carter at the end showing up, it just, is that the most, and we don't know yet. I haven't watched this week's episode, and even
really?
if I had, we wouldn't be talking about it tonight because, spoilers and all that jazz. But
it is very worth watching.
It is fascinating.
This whole show so far is definitely worth watching. But we know if that's the moment when Loki would have come through the same.
Well, and that's what they're kind of setting it up as. That's when the Loki thing happens. Instead of that happening,
this happens.
Yeah, here comes Carter, because in theory, based on how the Tesseract moved around, there wouldn't have been some of the interventions that took place, and there would have been the Hydra influence,
and
that wouldn't have been as much at that point. Unlike our timeline, where Hydra was basically everywhere in every part of every government.
Wow, we just killed multiple seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of killed all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
they really did. Yes.
All right, so while we're on the MCU, let's jump over the fact that MCU has a new movie coming out in just a couple of weeks, and this is the Shang-Chi movie, and it is not going straight to Disney+.
No, they are going fully into theaters to start.
Yep, for the first, I believe it's 30 or 45 days.
I believe it's 30. I think if they said the first 4 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. But yeah, so they'll have like a month in theaters without it being available on streaming. And if it does well, then we have hopes to see the Eternals doing the same thing. If The Legend of the Ten Rings does not do well, going straight into theaters for the first 4 weeks, then we will see Eternals going straight to Disney Plus, as well as it is 45 days after it's released.
Is it 45? Okay.
Yeah, I just pulled that up right here. But if Shang-Chi does not do well, and to be totally honest, this is not the movie everybody's excited about.
I think
it may not do well just because it's not a good movie. We just don't know yet. But Disney is going to base their decision on Eternals is going to head straight to Disney Plus based on how the Ten Rings movie does.
Yeah, that seems to be the word coming down the line from Kevin Feige and everyone else, that this is kind of a testing the waters movie, which is an interesting one to choose, considering it's a smaller character, but I think they've showed enough of the background stuff during all their trailers they've done, including the one that came out recently, to, I think, get a lot more people interested. because they're approaching it as, yes, this is a different story than you're used to, but there's some characters you know, and ultimately this is a kung fu movie with, super crazy ninja action. Like that is the story that's being told.
Kung fu movie that just happens to reside in the MCU.
Yeah, which
And I think they purposely dropped the cameo rumor to try to get more people from the regular MCU fandom curious about it too.
well, and there are some cameos that we know are going to happen at this point now. We've learned that at least 2 previous characters are going to be there, with the potential for a lot of others. We literally have no idea who else they're going to be bringing in. The only thing they've shown so far is that we're getting Abomination and Wong.
Right, but the Trevor Slattery one specifically is what I was.
Yes, and also Slattery, which is an interesting choice, but I kind of respect it in its own way that they're going to kind of connect those plot points.
Well, he used the 10 rings as his backdrop and his supposed terrorist cell.
But that also wasn't his decision. That was the dead guy's decision.
Right. So we may actually get introduced to the real Mandarin.
Well, we are. He's the main antagonist of this movie, it looks like.
Right. But but I don't think it's the same actor, if I'm not mistaken. From the
it's
they used somebody different. So
yeah, it's what's his name? There it is. It is.
Are you Googling faster than I am?
Tony. Yeah, Tony.
Yep.
GY. Yeah. Who, he's got a decent history. He's done some other stuff, so he's really, really well known, especially in Asia, primarily in like China, because he's from Hong Kong. So they're kind of tapping into that market pretty heavily, and he is going to be the Mandarin in this movie. Now, what happens after that, we don't really know, but.
But really, as far as cameo goes, the MCU is known for cameos and Easter eggs.
Yeah, and we're getting a few we already know about.
right.
So we have no idea what else might be coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. So it's very possible that we'll see it budget.
Oh yeah, especially if they're doing which looks like this tournament that's happening is going to be taking place at least somewhat close to Madripoor, if not in Madripoor. So you have some very easy crossover there based on what happened during the Falcon and Winter Soldier story.
Which is also canon. So,
Exactly.
These are all important things.
I don't know if you caught it. They just announced today that Mackie is now confirmed officially for Captain America 4.
He is Captain America in Captain America 4, which is good. He deserves it at this point. Everyone's super excited about Peggy Carter, so am I, but she's not going to be Captain America. Captain America is Falcon now. Well, Falcon is Captain America now. Other way.
He's Captain Falcon.
It's Captain Falcon.
That works
That
too.
is going to definitely happen in that movie. Someone's going to call him Captain Falcon.
And if they don't, then they have missed a good opportunity.
And it's probably going to be Bucky because he's an asshole.
I was going to say it's going to be Deadpool since he's supposed to be taking over the Stan Lee cameos.
If that ever actually happens, I would be impressed.
Wait, who's taking over the cameos?
Deadpool.
Potentially Deadpool because he breaks the fourth wall already.
Okay, because I thought the inside joke was going to be that Matt Damon was going to be doing all the cameos because he's now appeared in he's been in Deadpool. He's been in 4 movies now.
Yeah, with tiny bit parts.
Yeah.
That nothing has been confirmed.
Well, nothing is confirmed at this point.
But I think it would be funny is if in Captain America 4, Deadpool is the one going, hey, look, it's Captain Falcon. But I think you're right. I think it is going to be Bucky.
Or whatever.
It would be perfect.
Entertaining. It'll probably be Bucky or potentially Rhodey.
I guess
he's kind of an asshole too. So
on a slightly more serious tone to the whole thing, though, is do you really think that Angelina Jolie would let her contract allow a movie of that with her? Let me rephrase: with her in it. I'm not going to say of that caliber because I haven't, all we've got are these occasional little micro teasers. To go straight to Disney Prime, Disney Plus, Disney.
Here's the thing.
Well,
she won't have any control over it depending on what happens with this Scarlett Johansson lawsuit.
And I sincerely doubt that will end before that movie's released.
Right, exactly.
Because currently, none of those actors have any control over whether or not their movie gets run to Premiere Access.
That's true.
So until there's a resolution and some judge rules one way or the other, there is no anything. They can do whatever they want right now. I mean, they may face some,
Consequences
like
in the
a
future.
Potentially aggressive move, considering some of the stuff they're facing currently, to actively shit on 5 more actors. But you never know. They might do it. It is Disney. They are one of the most valuable companies in the world. So
right, and they proved you could make a highly successful movie straight to video with Cruella. I mean, they built it.
And they've also proven that they can take nobodies or has-beens and create superstars.
I mean, yeah, look at, RDJ.
Look at Thor. No one knew who the hell Chris Hemsworth was when that movie was being made.
Yep.
Nobody knew who Tom Hiddleston was when that movie was being made.
This is true, but I'm talking about, Robert Downey Jr. has become Tony Stark.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's become the $80 million man.
That's pre-Disney, though. I mean, that was.
No, I know. But still, I guess maybe instead of giving all of that credit to Disney, we should be giving it to Jon Favreau.
Well, he deserves a huge chunk of the credit that he undeservedly never gets for not only what he's done with Disney, but also what he's done with Star Wars. And whatever he touches, he generally makes something more interesting and better than it had any right to be initially.
Yeah, he kind of saves the day a lot of times with different franchises.
Yeah, and he has a Midas touch, it seems, when it comes to a story that he wants to tell.
You're not wrong. Well, while we're talking Favreau, let's jump over to the Star Wars Visions trailer. Or trailers, as it were.
Hell yeah. It's kind of a interesting approach to this being made. It doesn't happen often, and that is that the creators of this basically just said, all right, we've tried to negotiate something here. They wanted to make these stories for a while. They tried to negotiate with Disney. They tried to negotiate with Lucasfilms. They've tried to do all this stuff and eventually just landed on, you know what? Fuck it. Let's make it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And what happens is Disney apparently appreciates it and is making it a reality.
So we are getting 9 different shorts, each with a distinctive visual style, but all in the anime vein of things.
Yeah, and specifically Japanese anime.
Yes.
They are very much pushing that style of animation.
Yeah, and from all different studios.
Yeah, multiple studios are participating in this.
And each different studio had a different story that they wanted to tell. But apparently Japan, especially within these anime studios, had a huge grouping of hardcore Star Wars fans. And so they're like, finally. And we will be getting an English dubbing.
Yes.
For those
there is
who
going to be I think they're all initially made in Japanese.
Yes, correct. So
And
you
where they're
can
getting
watch
English.
subtitles or you can watch it dubbed.
Yeah, and they're doing a English dub of all of them with a actually fairly notable cast. If you look through it, there's a lot of well-known actors that are participating. So.
Oh yeah, you have Neil Patrick Harris doing it. You have Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah.
Let's see, what other names am I seeing on here?
David Harbour is going to be in it.
Yeah. George Takei.
Yeah, it's an extensive list, honestly. I mean, each movie or each, I don't know, short, I guess.
Yeah, they're being called shorts. Or each episode, as it were.
Cast. Yeah, each one has its story and its own cast, and there doesn't seem to be much crossover in that.
That is accurate.
Kyle Chandler.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an insane cast when you look at it.
Yeah, it's an aggressive thing, and it's not far in the future. I believe September 24th is when it releases.
I believe that is accurate. Let me confirm.
It is.
And
yep.
Tamura Morrison back as Boba Fett. Spoiler.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. But honestly, that's cool. They're tying it into existing stuff, and it looks like this is being kind of presented in the vein of the Legends storylines that they did a long time ago, just from a different point of inspiration.
Yep.
So whether or not they're accepted as canon, I don't know if they've made that clear yet, because I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen anything on it yet, and I also haven't seen whether or not these were stories that came out of Lucasfilms, out of that whole estate, or if these are films or shorts, as were, that are just, you have these horror fans who are going, this is the story, we never had these answers, so let's just create this. And I haven't been able to see that.
Based on because they have not actually put a lot of information out about the background of it, but based on my understanding, it is inspired by, but not anything. I don't think anything is directly taken from the Legends stuff at all.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's all inspired by that, but I don't believe any of it is directly taken from there, from what I can tell.
That's, I don't know. We just have to wait and see.
There probably will be something, though. Like, there probably will be similarities. There'll probably be some, anyone who has read the Legends materials will probably see some of the stuff and like, oh, that's from such and such story. That probably will happen. But I don't believe that there's anything indicating that they directly took any of those stories and just made something out of it. It seemed to be inspired by that idea of the Legend stories, though.
Yeah. So, we'll just have to wait and see. I know that come end of September, early October, you will be hearing us talking about this in great detail.
And I'm sure we'll have more information by then, but I'm guaranteeing we'll have more information by then, because Disney will, for something this innovative for them, they are going to try and push this as much as they can to get attention.
Agreed.
So, because this doesn't fall in line with their normal stuff at all. Yeah.
This sort of thing does make me wonder how, if anywhere along the lines, they've done a sit down, whether that be Disney execs sitting down with, Kathleen Kennedy and Favreau and such, or whoever sitting down with somebody having a meeting and saying, okay, over in the Marvel exec offices, they've got their entire universe mapped out for like the next decade. What are you doing?
I'm pretty sure Favreau has it all mapped out for basically anything that's going to be making Disney money right now that doesn't have to do with a princess.
Or the Marvel universe, yeah.
Right, but they're in, because everything still says that Rian Johnson is going to be allowed to do his trilogy. That's never been officially pulled. So, and he said he wants to kind of do a Knights of the Old Republic feel, whether that's the plot line or not, but that's where, he said his fandom lies. So
I'm assuming that a lot of this has been vetted by everyone in any position of power on the Star Wars side.
I would have to think so at this point in time, because of how successful it's worked for Marvel.
Well, and with how they've kind of set everything up on their side of things too, Marvel's obviously been doing it longer at this point, but Star Wars has definitely, ever since the kind of issues that they had with the trilogy, with directors changing and stuff like that, ever since that little issue, they've definitely kind of cut back who's allowed to have an opinion, it seems. And they have to run everything by, it seems like you said, Kennedy, Favreau, probably at this point, there's probably 2 or 3 people that are like, no, go through us and that's it.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah, I would have to hope so.
Mm-hmm.
And they might email George and say, by the way, this is where we're going with it.
As far as I know, they haven't said anything to him.
Yeah, I've heard that he's occasionally informed, but he's not even a consultant anymore.
No, because they don't want it. They've made it very clear that they don't want him to have an influence.
Not after what he did to the originals.
How they tell their stories.
I mean, I think that you're right. After the way the trilogy went, where it was kind of like all right, what are we going to have happen here? Let's roll the dice. And, oh, look, we got a D4. All right, I guess that means Jar Jar comes back again.
I'm always going to be disappointed with the D1 that he rolled, that the Mandalorian, that he nixed the entire Mandalorian plot for. They're all clones. That's going to piss me off for the remainder of my life. Sorry, I grew up on the comic books. No, and no.
So
But yes, I'm assuming that it's they have to, and I'm assuming at this point they're probably bringing in Filoni too because of the impact he's had.
Yeah,
so it's probably Kennedy, Filoni, and Favreau sitting in the office, and them coming in and like, okay, can we do this?
Well, wasn't there something also that they offered Waititi a movie?
I've heard he's been connected to potentially doing something, but nothing's been verified, I don't believe.
Just gotta wait and see what happens. The Star Wars universe is definitely being held closer to the vest than the MCU, whereas, like we talked about a few weeks ago, they've basically told us we're getting, 7 movies in 18 months or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah,
not to mention all of the TV shows. Whereas Star Wars is kind of just more of a, we'll tell you when we want to tell you.
Well, and part of that is attributed to the idea that much more in the Star Wars universe, you see angrier responses to anything that comes out that people don't want.
This is because the Star Wars universe is older than Vance.
No,
that's not true.
No. I was 6 years old when the first movie came out.
Wow. Okay.
I was there. I'm not older, or it's not older than me.
Okay, fine. Then Vance is old.
Yes, I am. Look, there's gray.
I have gray too, but I was definitely not alive. I wasn't even alive when the third movie came out. So.
Yeah, but Tank, all of your gray hair comes from the fact that you have an almost 6-year-old, an almost 3-year-old, and are married to my sister.
That probably has part of the issue, yes.
It's okay. She doesn't listen to our show. You can say what you want.
No, I tell her daily. But I love that woman very much, and she drives me crazy every moment of the day.
I love her too, but you picked her for whatever reason. So moving on to other things.
It just gets a lot more backlash, and I think that's what we don't get as much info.
I have a very visceral reaction to the first 3 movies and how he retconned, decades of information that he put out, and then he comes out with, The Phantom Menace. And it's like, what the frack was that? George, I'm going to drive out to San Francisco, find you, and kill you.
See, I'm stupid enough that I actually enjoyed that movie because I didn't have a deep connection to Star Wars.
I
actually enjoyed that movie. The second one, that was dog shit. But
I bought everything. I bought all here's the blueprints for how the Death Star works, and the whole background information. I mean, they didn't even introduce Boba Fett yet, and he had established the whole Clone Wars, how it all worked, how everything happened. He established the Mandalorians. He established all this stuff, and then in one little swoop, it's all gone because he decided he didn't like the scripts that he wrote when he wrote all 9 of them at the same time. Fuck you, George.
I think that seems to be a fairly...
I believe that's going to be a hashtag on this particular episode. Fuck you, George.
I think there's a hashtag that says fuck you, George, basically attached to anything Star Wars has done in the last 20 years.
You're not wrong. I mean... I grew up on Star Wars because, my dad is a big Star Wars guy. He remembers when the movies came out when he was stationed over in Germany, and everybody going and watching the same film, on Friday and Saturday multiple times because, when you're on a military base and you're not allowed, leave, I guess, Star Wars or hookers, and Star Wars was cheaper. Love you, Dad.
I think my parents would disagree based on how many times I pulled them to the movie theater.
But, so yeah, I remember like sitting on the floor, waiting in line for Rogue One, and because this is all something that's really important to my dad. I even wore the Princess Leia buns because I have enough hair for that.
Yeah, I didn't fully watch a Star Wars movie until episode 1. Because I was 12 and I didn't have anyone that watched Star Wars in my life prior to that, really.
That's fair. New Hope is going to be my favorite. But of the newer movies, Rogue One is my favorite.
Rogue One was beautifully done.
Yeah, that was the best story, which is interesting.
So
I do use the opening of Star Wars, not the crawl, but immediately after the crawl, episode 4, as my test for anytime I buy a new TV. That is my test sequence. Is that blockade runner coming over and then the Star Destroyer, and just test the sound, test the picture. Every single TV I have purchased since I was 17 when I bought my first TV myself. That has been my test model.
I use the Avengers, actually.
I have actually never purchased a television. I have either dated somebody with really good TV or my dad gets a new TV and then it trickles down the siblings. So like when he bought his, what's the size he has now, Tank? It's like 976 inches.
I don't know at this point. I don't remember.
It takes up an entire wall at my parents' house. Their next step is just seriously going to be a projector.
Yeah, unless he wants to pay $10,000, I think that's his next option.
It's bigger than your TV, Vance. So,
and it's a flat screen, or is it a projection?
No, it's a flat screen.
It's the curved screen.
Yeah, no, but it's still it
is a flat screen, but it's got the curve But so every time Dad gets a new TV, then the TV he previously had goes to my brother, and then the TV that my brother has goes to one of the sisters. And this is how I have always gotten TVs.
Yeah, we officially took ourselves out of that lineup after Mike broke 2 of them.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why Mike only gets hand-me-down TVs instead of new TVs.
We just went the other route, so let's just buy the TV that we want at this point.
Yeah. Well, like the only TV I have that belongs to me at this point is like a 20-inch screen that I use as a secondary monitor.
I'm going to say all of my monitors are bigger than 20.
And it's one of those things where, like, I had some guy friends come over for a movie night when I was in my studio apartment, and they saw my little tiny TV. And so one of them left, went across the street to his place, took the TV out of his guest bedroom, and brought it back over. So
there were many moments where I was ready to give the 75 inches in the bedroom to the Patrick and Siobhan household. There's that to try. I can't imagine everybody there trying to watch a movie on that 32-inch, because that's just like. But I'm also spoiled with my giant ass TVs too. So
yeah. So in any case. All right, so jumping over to Netflix, last week, Tank and I were talking about how the Avatar Last Airbender fans crowdfunded $1 million in 16 minutes. And it was like, groundbreaking, oh my God, can't believe 16 minutes, $1 million for a tabletop RPG.
Yep.
And while he and I were talking about this last week, I was saying, if we could get all of these people to put forth the same effort into getting a decent live action Last Airbender made, I bet something epic could happen. We got off recording, and I want to say it was the same night. Tank sends me a message. Hey, Bobby, guess what Netflix is doing?
Yeah. They just released their cast for the live-action Avatar The Last Airbender. So
yeah, and they're doing it as a series, which is how it should be done.
Yes. So, I guess we're partially responsible for willing that into the universe? I don't know.
I'm going to totally take responsibility for that, unless it sucks, and then it was all Tank's fault.
And then it was M. Night Shyamalan's fault.
It's always M. Night Shyamalan's fault. I mean, come on. There's even a Cards Against Humanity card for that.
That's accurate. Yeah, well, it's because he made 1.5 good movies.
Okay. Elaborate.
I was going to say that requires explanation.
Sixth Sense was a good movie, right?
Yeah. The first time you watched it.
Unbreakable was about half a good movie, and that was his.
Okay, I'll give you 1.5.
I'll concur.
Besides that, he relies on twist too much. Sorry, the way that he makes movies irritates me sometimes.
Yeah, but actually, it was I had watched The Sixth Sense once, and I enjoyed it, and I went to watch it a second time, and it was actually with your wife, and in the first 7 minutes of the movie, she's like, "But isn't he dead?"
Yep.
And I'm just like, "Well, you just ruined the whole movie."
It's surprising, legitimately, how many people. I guess it's not surprising. A lot of people were surprised by that, I guess, but
yeah, but she caught it in minutes.
Yeah, I picked that up as soon as he came back. Wait, he was just bleeding to death. What's happening right now? I thought it was a flashback at first.
So.
All
right. So anyways, Avatar The Last Airbender
has been willed into the universe.
Has been willed into existence. They actually have a cast of Asian and Asian Pacific and Middle Eastern people to fit the different tribes instead of whitewashing it.
Yeah, not only just which when they don't whitewash things, they also tend to just
pull people at
everyone's
random.
Asian. Yeah,
Yes.
everyone Asian is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes is what they do instead. It doesn't look like they did that. It looks like they legitimately tried to different parts of the Asian continent where there are several countries and cultures and histories and pull people from all different backgrounds.
Exactly. And they didn't just be like, hey, Aquafina, we're making another thing that requires some sort of Asian character. You want to do it?
Is she not in it? Actually, I'd be surprised if she wasn't.
She's not on the current cast list.
That is legitimately surprising.
She's
Right?
in the 10 Rings, but that one.
Yeah, she's in a lot of things.
That's because every time they're like, hey, we need an Asian actress.
I guess that's true. At this
Be
point.
clear, an under 30-year-old Asian actress. If they need somebody over 30, they go to Ming Na Wen.
Yeah, but I'm
Or
completely okay
Lucy
with
Liu.
that choice.
Or Lucy Liu, which she is actually in one of the
Lucy
Star
Liu.
Wars stories.
And if they need somebody older, they go with I can't think of the actress's name now, from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I mean, it's like they actually have appropriate actors playing these parts.
Which is smart.
I just looking at the actors and actresses next to the animated images of the characters they're going to be playing, I feel good about this. Like, it could be a complete shitstorm, but I feel like it's going to be better than the big fucking fish monster.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. What was wrong with the big fucking fish monster?
I will stab you in the eye through the computer.
But yes, this looks like it'll be much better and much more accurate to the story.
Bobby.
Fork in the eye.
Yeah, I'll put my pencil through your eyeball.
Yeah, fork you.
What? Frack you.
No, fork.
Yes, I see the fork. You're being very clever with the fact that you're holding up the eating utensil. And I'm still going to say, frack your fork.
Hey, I've been called a mother fracker before.
All right. Let's see. What else do we have on our list for tonight? Ah, yes. South Park.
Fuck Matt Stone. Like, what?
So
man.
the guys, Matt and Trey, to their friends,
They were already
which are not
pretty
me.
damn rich. Let's go ahead and make that very clear.
Yes.
They've had a lot of successful ventures in the entertainment industry.
You are not wrong.
And they are...
And to pile on top of that success,
$100 million.
ridiculous.
Which is a huge number, and it's for 6 more seasons.
6 more seasons of the show.
15 streaming movies.
Yep.
Over the course of apparently 8 years, I think is what the
6 years. Everything's over the course of 6 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's impressive, and
Yup.
good for them. Because that's a giant pile of money, and they will never have to do anything. They already don't have to do anything.
This is true.
On a whim, they bought Casa Bonita. So,
which, who the fuck knows what's going to happen there? I just know that the food can't get worse.
I'm assuming, I actually trust them to make Nation thing again in Colorado for some reason. That seems like something that they would actually try and make more interesting again.
I mean, they've already helped increase tourism to the actual South Park area, as well as to Casa Bonita. But, I mean...
anyone who doesn't know how big South Park actually is, it takes less than a minute to drive from one end to the other.
It takes about 6 minutes if you walk.
Yeah, it might take you 6 minutes to walk the entire thing.
All right.
But people still go there.
A couple houses and a post office.
But people still trek out to that location.
They do. I've stopped there on my way to Gunnison a couple times.
Yeah. But yeah, so they bought Casa Bonita with, significantly less than that $900 million.
A very small portion of their over $1 billion combined dollars.
Wow.
Yeah.
But Casa Bonita was basically killed by the pandemic.
Oh yeah, it was wiped out almost.
There was actually a new nonprofit group started in the Denver area called SaveCasaBonita.org. Because instead of just calling it Save Casa Bonita and then having a website, they actually worked the .org into their business name. I'm not joking on that.
That's impressive.
But yeah, so apparently the Save Casa Bonita group could not raise up enough funds to save it on their own. So the boys from South Park stepped in.
Yeah.
So.
Which they can definitely afford.
At this point, they can afford anything.
Yeah.
Except for coming to my high school class reunion.
Well, they could afford to. They just choose not to because they know you'll be there.
They can afford not to go in.
They can afford apparently not to even, fly their private.
Yeah.
Matt can afford to not fly his private jet to Centennial Airport to come to the class reunion for the last 3. Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure what he does is he's like, hey, people who aren't Vance, why don't I pay to fly you out to see me instead?
Interestingly enough, one of my classmates also became a Hollywood agent, and has seen Matt several times, and talked to him about coming out, and he just absolutely just won't do it.
Well, again, it's because they know you'll be there.
Okay, technically, yes, but it's interesting because every time I show up to it, I've got either a different wife or multiple partners showing up with me, which is just comedic.
Just because, Stache couldn't be here, we had to bring in a new man whore. And
I prefer man-a-whore because it sounds more like man-a-war. So
yeah, I could go with that. You could be a man whore. Instead of being a Portuguese man of war, you're a Polish man of whore.
If you know what, I have been called worse.
And you know what? When we were living in Hawaii, whenever the man of war were out, they would run a flag up to tell people not to play at that beach. And so you know what? Whenever he shows up to the high school reunion, they have a flag out front. It says, Vance is here. And then he leaves.
Well, when, I have to buy an entire table for my polycule. So.
Yeah, sticking with man whore. All right.
Man whore.
Moving on to something that is slightly more interesting. And that is PlayStation has officially purchased Crunchyroll.
Yeah, they have. That is official now. So they actually own, which at this point I believe is the largest anime streaming service.
I believe you are accurate.
And we do not entirely know what they're doing with it yet. But the indication seems to be that they are going to make it part of their PS Plus offering. And they're going to incorporate a movie and TV aspect to it, which I'm assuming is going to make it cost more money.
And that is what everybody else is assuming as well, is that this is going to mean for those who want the PlayStation Plus experience, you shall now be paying for something you may or may not want.
Yes. Which PS Plus has its issues, but it seems odd that they wouldn't kind of go the Microsoft route a little bit with the Game Pass, who did something similar. Because even if you had Game Pass, like they offer like Disney Plus as part of it, as part of the thing that you can get either a discount off of it or something like that as part of the subscription.
Yeah.
But you're also getting more games.
PlayStation Plus is only $60 a year.
Yes.
I mean, so on the grand scheme of, different subscription services, it's not a ton.
No, but you would be surprised at how many don't like the fact that they're paying $60 a year. Because that actually is a fairly large portion of the population at this point.
Well, I mean, I think people just don't like having to pay subscription fees for anything.
Well, it's been, and even more so with what Xbox has done with theirs, because they've basically made it, to do the Game Pass thing, $14 a month, but you also get all of their games. You get the EA access stuff. You get all kinds of stuff lumped in with it, and that's $14 a month, or I think like $120 a year or something like that.
Yeah.
But you also have a huge catalog of day one games that come out, plus their back catalog, plus all kinds of other incentives. So it seems odd that, and it's an assumption at this point, maybe that is what they're planning. Maybe they're going to roll their PS Plus and their PlayStation Now service, and they're going to throw Crunchyroll into it also, and then charge, $15 a month.
We don't know yet, but we know that there's definitely going to be something happening because they just spent a lot of money to acquire this service.
Quite a large amount of money
to
acquire the service.
I know that my anime friends swear by Crunchyroll.
And a lot of people do. And the anime, people tend, Crunchyroll is the biggest distributor of anime at this point for streaming services. So,
I mean, we have NDK and a couple other anime fests tentatively scheduled for Colorado this year, or at least they haven't been canceled as of yet. And so you're going to see people who basically have very strong opinions about this Crunchyroll acquisition one way or another.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of backlash yet, but we also don't know what's happening yet. So
wait and see what happens.
Exactly. At this point, until they make an official announcement of how it's going to impact their services, and we have no idea what's going to happen next.
So, as it is with most things, wait and see, and we will have opinions once we have more information. In fairness, we have opinions now, even though they are unfounded.
Well,
okay, so
what would we be without unfounded opinions?
This show wouldn't exist. All right. So speaking of opinions that you will hear more from us later on, and that is on Reminiscence, Hugh Jackman's latest film, where he's a dream detective, and not dreamy, but like in an actual dream setting. And that comes out on HBO Max as well as in theaters this upcoming weekend.
Yep.
So
scores at this point are not high, which, you can kind of take or leave that at this point. We don't know what that means, but it has a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes as of right now, which is not great.
Well, and it hasn't even officially come out yet.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see what happens. It's apparently, in the not too distant future, written by the creator or co-creator of Westworld, and that is Lisa Joy. And she is also the director.
Which makes sense.
So writer and director, best known for her work with Westworld.
Yeah, well, based on the synopsis, that does make sense.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll get a chance to watch that before our next episode and have much to say about that. Also coming out this weekend is The Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf.
Yeah, that comes out on Monday, officially.
Yep, on Netflix.
And this is an animated movie.
Yeah. We still don't have Witcher Season 2, which, we're all anxiously awaiting. And the voice actors are not the same in this as the actors from the Netflix TV series.
Mm-hmm.
But it serves as a spin-off from that series because, both produced by Netflix. And so, yeah, wait and see, what that looks like. Having read some of the Witcher books, that shit is all over the place. So who knows what's going to happen in this particular film.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild lore, to be honest. So it could be. I'm gonna go with the assumption of it's going to be decent, just based on what they've done with the material to this point. So I'm hopeful.
And with all things, the most we can be is hopeful until we are proven wrong or right in many of the cases as the movies we have speculated upon. So that is all I have for our agenda this evening. Vance, do you have anything to say on Reminiscence or the Witcher movie?
I'm actually genuinely looking forward to Reminiscence. I can see where it's probably going to be a reasonably rehashed plot from certain angles, but it's not. I like Hugh Jackman trying to stretch his legs a little bit, into different arenas. So coming off of his last few movies, this will be back into the kind of the sci-fi action realm. So it should be. I'm hopeful. I'll stick with the word hopeful. If I can give it at least a 2.5 star out of 5, I'm going to say it's good brain candy. That's all I'm really expecting from it, is a good brain candy.
Agreed.
Right.
I'm not excited at all for The Witcher. I didn't get into the series. I didn't dig it as much as most people did. But that's just me. I'll leave it there.
Good, because I may have to catch you if you start talking bad about that show.
I wasn't going to talk bad about it. I couldn't get into it.
Oh, we're not against hot takes on this channel. I thoroughly shit on Lord of the Rings 2 weeks ago. So
this is true.
Sorry.
The whole point is of having guests on or multiple hosts in general is to get a variety of different perspectives, viewpoints, and people telling me that I'm right.
But you're not.
Shut up! Nobody likes you. And this is why all of the male counterparts on this show, other than Smurf, are referred to in the brotherly format. Vance, the older brother I never wanted and somehow ended up with. Stache, the younger brother who is just a giant pain in my tuchus, but I bring him as my +1 most places anyway. Tank, who married into the family and got stuck with me. And Fox, it's less of a brotherly thing, but he's definitely still in that familial arena.
Venturing into the incestuous, that's a brotherly relationship.
That is definitely not. However, with the three of the brotherly types, that is not a concern in any way, shape, or form, because yuck on all three of you. And not just because Tank is married to my sister. And on that beautiful note...
That's a little bit rude.
I have no issue with that. I always can put Noah in front of you and know that, that's not an issue.
You know what? All of the men in your family, Vance, Noah is my favorite.
Noah's my favorite too.
All right. So on that lovely note,
oh my God.
We shall say goodnight, and until next time, when we come back, and who the hell knows is going to be on the show next week. We could be back to our regular grouping. We could have a bunch of random strangers. All I know for sure is either Tank and or myself will be there, because somebody has to run the buttons on recording this insanity. So, walk softly, carry a big stick. And,
You forgot The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't forget. I don't care.
Walking Dead season 11 for the people that still watch that show. It's on Sunday.
You made a Negan reference, and then you say you don't care. I see how it is.
Walk softly and carry a big stick is not a Negan reference.
It is when you're a nerd.
It goes back way before. All right, we're going to call it before I start trying to beat Vance through the computer, so much so that he matches his shirt. All right, everybody.
Tell a person with a history degree that it's right. Like, I didn't know that. Okay.
All right. Good night, all. Thank you for putting up with us, because God only knows how you do that. See you next time.